Tonight, we dive into a leaked Kremlin call that Russian state TV will never show you. A call where one voice allegedly says, "This is the end," not from a movie, not from a conspiracy forum, from a real voice, on a real call, reportedly from inside the Kremlin, reacting to a wave of Ukrainian strikes that may have just blown up Putin's war plan. In this video, we're going to break down what was actually said on this call, how Ukraine managed to hit Russia where it hurts most, and why some insiders in Moscow are now whispering that this phase of the war is already lost. If you want to understand what's really happening behind the propaganda, stay right here. Let's start with the leak itself. Now, important disclaimer before we go deeper, Ronarts in wartime, every side plays the information game. We can't independently verify every syllable on that tape. But here's why this leak is getting so much attention. It matches what we've been seeing on the ground. Russian failures, panic logistics, and Ukrainian strikes that look less like random hits and more like a surgical dismantling of Russia's war machine. One of the voices on the call reportedly says, "If they keep hitting like this, it's the end of this phase. The plan is gone." And then, even more bluntly, "We can't hold this together without fuel, without shells. Command is blind." That's not Ukrainian propaganda. That's allegedly Russia talking about Russia. And that one line, "The plan is gone," is what has analysts asking, did Ukraine just kill Putin's current strategy in Ukraine? To understand how serious that is, we need to answer a basic question. What was Putin's plan at this stage of the war? By now it's clear the original fantasy, quick decapitation of Kiev, installing a puppet government, marching in like liberators, that dream died a long time ago. So the new plan has looked more like this. Dig in hard, build heavy fortifications in occupied areas, trenches, dragon's teeth, mines, layered defense lines, bleed Ukraine slowly, force Kiev to burn through soldiers, artillery shells, drone stockpiles, make every inch of reclaimed land come at a brutal cost, outlast the West, wait for US and European politics to shift, use elections, economic pressure and propaganda to erode Western support until Ukraine is left underarmed and isolated. Freeze the front, then eventually push for some kind of peace deal that locks in Russia's land grab. But here's the catch. This whole approach only works if Russia's war machine keeps functioning in the background. That means ARN ammunition depots that stay stocked, fuel stores that keep the tanks and trucks moving, command posts that stay online, and logistics routes that are reliable and safe. If those things break, the slow grind doesn't look like a strategy anymore. It looks like a slow collapse. And that's exactly what this leaked call suggests is starting to happen. So, what did Ukraine actually do? Over the past weeks and months, Ukraine has shifted into a pattern of deep targeted strikes that go after the backbone of Russia's war effort. We've seen runner precision missile strikes on Russian ammo depots, HIMARS and long-range systems slamming into command centers and headquarters, drones and missiles hitting rail hubs, bridges and key supply corridors, even attacks on airfields, radar sites and energy hubs far behind the front line, and sometimes inside Russian territory. In the leaked call, one of the Russian voices reportedly complains, "They know exactly where to hit. It's like they have our whole map." Translation, they're not guessing, they're not randomly firing. They are using real-time intelligence from satellites, drones, intercepted communications, and local informants to systematically disassemble Russia's war infrastructure. He goes on to describe units being stranded, Rakasenstate Raumkrauts, Ringsex, where rehouse on the front. They're devastating for any army. Why? Because war isn't just about who has more soldiers. It's about whose soldiers get supplied, get reinforced, and stay connected to command. If your troops are ruckus, low on shells, running out of fuel, cut off from higher command, then it doesn't matter how big your army is on paper. Your war plan is effectively dead on arrival. So why does this one leaked call hit so hard? Let's break it down. First, it shreds the official narrative. Kremlin media loves to say everything is under control. We're advancing. The enemy is collapsing. But inside this call you hear the opposite. We're blind. We're out of ammo. The plan is gone. That gap between public propaganda and private panic is a huge red flag. Second, it exposes internal blame and fear. According to summaries of the audio, you hear frustration aimed upwards. Idiots at the top. No proper reserves prepared. That's not just battlefield stress. That's the sound of a system that's starting to turn on itself. When generals start blaming politicians, and politicians start blaming generals, something important is breaking. Confidence. Third, it sends a very clear message to Ukraine and the West. What you're doing is working. Ukraine's deep strike doctrine, destroying logistics, command, and infrastructure, is not just annoying Russia, it is undermining the core of Putin's war strategy. Fourth, and maybe most important, it hits morale. Think about the average Russian soldier or officer hearing that people in Moscow are saying the plan is over, we can't hold this together. That doesn't inspire courage, that inspires desertion, hesitation, and quiet rebellion. And in a long war, morale doesn't crack all at once with one dramatic event. It erodes, call by call, coffin by coffin, lie by lie. So if this leak is even half accurate, what does it tell us about what comes next? There are a few paths we could be looking at. Scenario 1. Putin doubles down. He doesn't admit defeat. He rarely does. Instead, he could Mobilize more troops, throw more missiles and drones at Ukrainian cities, try a new offensive just to prove Russia is still in the game. This would be brutal and bloody, but it wouldn't fix the underlying problem. If your logistics are collapsing, throwing more bodies at the front only increases the chaos. Scenario 2, a long grinding decline. Ukraine keeps hitting. Ammo, fuel, command nodes, depots, rail lines. The West keeps supplying artillery shells, air defenses, long-range weapons, intel. Russia doesn't suddenly collapse like in a movie, but over months. More retreats, more abandoned equipment, more angry leaked calls, more Russians asking, quietly, why are we still doing this? Scenario 3, political shock inside Russia. At some point, the people who keep Putin in power, the security elites, the oligarchs, the generals, may decide that this war is costing too much for too little. We already saw a preview with Prigozhin's Wagner mutiny when an armed column drove toward Moscow and the system blinked. Leaks like this don't topple governments by themselves, but they add pressure to a system that's already under strain. This is the end. Whether those exact words were spoken or not, that's the feeling dripping out of this alleged Kremlin call. A sense that this phase of Putin's war, the phase where Russia could pretend it had a stable, controlled plan, is slipping away. But let's be clear, this doesn't mean tanks roll back to Moscow tomorrow. It doesn't mean the war magically stops. It means something deeper. The story Russia has been telling itself and the world about this war is starting to fall apart from the inside. So I want to hear from you. Do you think this leak marks the beginning of the end for Putin's current war plan, or is it just one crack in a system that can still hold together for years? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read as many as I can. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit like, it really helps more people see this. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next deep dive as this war and the truth behind it continues to unfold. Thanks for watching, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next one.